In order, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Buck. You got it. I know it. Have a roll call.
Mayor Hassler.
Here.
Alderwoman Clegg-Harn. Alderwoman Johnson. Here. Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Prince.
Here.
Alderwoman Armstead. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
And I have the approval of the amended agenda. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Takes us down to our city administrator's report.
So I've handed out the budget calendar. It's at your seats. So these are the proposed dates we'll be meeting for the budget. The most important date is going to be Thursday, August 18th, 6 o'clock. That's when we'll do the budget overview and have the department heads give their presentations. That'll be for the capital items and for any large items, and just a chance to discuss and look at the budget from top to bottom. Missouri Department of Natural Resources will be requesting grant applications for EV charging stations in July. We have budgeted that expenditure as part of our ARPA funding. I want to get that started. So we're going to have Cape Electric come in. They are a Sourcewell provider for charging stations, and just kind of get that discussion looking at the Welcome Center and putting in, at least for us, putting in 2 charging stations for those that want to come visit to use. The ones we're looking at would be about a 30-minute charge, so they could park, use the restrooms, shop a little bit, and then get back to their vehicles and be on their way, or stay longer. But we'll make them available. But we're going to have to apply for some grant funding because I don't think we're going to be able to afford it as is. The citizens may have to put a transformer where we want to extend to. They may not. That'll make it cheaper, but I want to make sure we have enough money in our budget, what we've allocated, and have grant money to help pay for any extra costs or any extra engineering that we would need to get done.
There'll be a fee associated with those to the user, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
It'll go through a company we'll associate ourselves with. Yep. So we've got that grant funding. We've got bridge funding that we need to, we'll have to look at. The state has changed the bridges that are allowed to use BRO funding. There are 3 in St. Genevieve County, and one of them is on North Main Street. I was hoping it was North 4th Street, but that one is not eligible, but North Main Street is. So there's a possibility we can put a couple of funding sources together and redo Main Street Bridge. We are now removing the water line off of it. This would be a good time to redo that bridge. So we get, again, we haven't heard anything on South 4th Street Bridge yet, but that would leave the 3 bridges that are probably the oldest and need repairs. So we're going to look at that a little further. Applications for that are due July 22nd. Dave Van Leer is going to ask, when we get into the public comments portion, there is ARPA funding for water. It's water, sewer, and stormwater. As we know, we're not eligible for stormwater. We don't really have anything that for sewer, we don't have anything planned, but we have the supervisory plan that we come up with on water. That would help qualify us for ARPA money for the water system. So we need to decide if we want to move forward on that. I'll let him discuss that a little further here shortly. And Vernon Bowman, they're working along. They're now making some progress. They got to Lecompton, North 4th Street, bumped into every possible problem that you could bump into. Old clay tile from storm sewer that was just broken. So we've gotten that replaced. They've worked their way through there. They haven't busted anybody's water line. They're making progress. So they will shut down the week of the fair. Thank you. And then they'll come back and start working on getting under the creeks. So that's their next stage. Unless they get this done on 4th Street earlier, then they'll start working on getting under the creeks. But if they just do that, they're going to just pull off for a week. They've got somewhere else to be, and that'll keep that road open for the fair and for the parade. And that's, keep this in mind for the work session. We finally got the engineering plans back from the engineer through Steve Bacon on the boardroom, still a couple of changes, we need to make some small stuff. But at this point in the budget year, we may want to just consider using what we have left in engineering money, architectural money, and just having Steve start on the city hall side, and do it all at the same time. Because we're going to, by the time we would get this bid out, we'd be into the next budget year. I don't think they'd be able to start it until maybe the next calendar year. So it's just something to think about for the next meeting. And that's all I got, unless anybody has any questions. Yes, sir.
Oh, mine's quick. As in at least 1 year passed, for those of us with horrible handwriting, would you mind emailing that budget questionnaire?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I always forget to do that. I apologize.
That thing under the creek in there, how do they do that? I mean, because that way it won't be mounted to the bridge anymore.
Right, so they're going to dig into, and they'll use cofferdamming or bypass pipe to get the water so it keeps going from one side to the other, but they'll redirect it to one corner. They'll start digging under the creek, dig it up, and then fill it back in, and then, put it back to the same elevation that it was at. But they'll coffer it off or block it so that water can bypass while they're working on it, depending upon which side of the creek they're on.
So they just have to start on either side and go much deeper, and then,
Yep.
But doesn't require any special valves or?
I mean, it'll be valved on the sides. It's just, the piping's going to be ductile piping, so, I mean, it's the same stuff they're using.
Right, okay.
Anything else? Any other questions? All right.
That takes us to our staff reports. We have no chief tonight, but
Got the lieutenant.
come forward.
Good evening. Hi, Chief, prepared a report for you. You have it in your folder, so any questions? That was easy.
Very good. Thank you. Corey, you want to come forward?
No, yeah, another feeling.
So, you guys get the report just this evening. You guys any questions on it?
I have one little one, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Maybe a little one, maybe not. I was watching the weather thing popped up today, and they're predicting long-range drought for our area. In fact, they showed maps, and then on into July and August, we're kind of in the center of the really dry. I mean, for water supply and stuff, I mean, do you think that'll have any effect on us? Or?
No, not at all.
Good.
Yeah, the wells down there, they'll be fine to supply
Good.
everything, so.
Plus, we can get some water out of the river, too, if we need. Might have to boil it, but it'll be all right.
Filter a little oil.
That's good. That is good. It's a good question. It's good to know. I wondered that, too.
Just a quick comment. This morning I received a message from a park goer saying there was a graffiti and turned into happy, and the guys were on it right away and got
Yes.
cleaned up, so I appreciate the timeliness.
No problem.
If you'll pass that on to the guys.
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't know if this is for Corey. Do we know what happened with that street light up on the corner here at?
Well, it got hit.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was an investigation and.
Beyond that, no.
We have it on video. We have the truck that done it. You can't read a license plate off of the PD cameras. But then there was also a truck that witnessed it. So we're trying to identify that person to see if they can give us any more information. But it was hit by a pickup truck, I think.
Thanks. And then is that going to be replaced?
Yes, it's removed and they were working on it, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you.
Are there any committee reports?
Just a few quick dates. We have our next park board meeting on this coming Monday, the 27th. The next movie in the park will be Friday, July 1st. That's going to be National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. And then that Saturday is going to be the fireworks that is usually organized up there. And then the Disc Golf Club and Excitement Disc Golf is bringing their tournament back this year, and they're planning on a July 24th date, so.
Do you work with Gary when he does get that funding for the fireworks? Or who coordinates?
He does that on his own.
Right.
Gary does it on his own.
Just one. I know, I saw where Domino's gave him $1,000. That was great. That's a lot of pizza.
Very good. Takes us to public comments.
Dave, you want to talk about ARPA funding?
Sure, thank you. So as Happy said earlier, wanted to make sure that the city is aware of some ARPA funding that's available through an application process through the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. So as Happy said, there's funding available for definitely for drinking water projects that you guys will be eligible. And you put yourself in great position with the water system study and owner supervised program you had done here a few years back. This is a competitive grant process, and having the engineering report completed gets you additional points on the application. So that will definitely help the city. So I think the next step here is working with Steve Wilson, Alliance staff, and Happy to select which projects we want to, if the city wishes to move forward, which projects we would pull out of the owner supervised program and apply for as part of this application. Once that's been completed, the city does need to pass a resolution that the city wants to move forward with applying for the grant. That's one of the requirements to accompany the application. And then the other thing the city would decide is what type of match you want to include on the application. Again, this is a points-based application, and the higher your match up to 20%, the more points you get on the application. Now I say that, I believe you get 5 points if you match 20%, and you get 3 points if you match 10%. So it kind of just depends on how everybody's applications fall out and how critical 2 points are to your application. And it's kind of hard to know that right now, so we've kind of been advising our clients, if you can, try to structure this so you can do a 20% match. So that's kind of important, knowing what the city's comfortable with, what a 20% match will look like. That kind of helps us scope out how big of a project we can go after. So if the city was comfortable putting up $200,000, we can look at $1 million project. If it's less than that, we can size the project based on that. Grants are limited to $5 million. I think in general we've been seeing people apply for smaller projects than that, but it is eligible up to $5 million. So those are the two things that the city, that this board kind of needs to get done. So the one thing we are up against the wall on a little bit here is these applications are due on July 14th. This was a very fast turnaround on this. I believe July 14th is the date of your next board meeting. Am I thinking right?
Yep. So they do it at 5 o'clock, and then we don't meet till that evening. That's problematic. So what Dave is asking is if we'll get together real fast and approve a resolution that says, yes, we want to do this. We may have numbers for you at that point, because we're going to look at what projects are coming up over the next couple of years and then figure out which ones we want to push on and see what that maximum number is that we want to apply for and what our match is going to be, because we have to look at reserves. This is going to have to come out of reserves and next year's funding. So it's not just a simple, we're going to do this, this, and this at this point. It is, let's see what we've got, see what we think are the priorities, and then go from there. But we may be able to catch up 2 years of our supervised plan instead of just 1 year next year.
So something else to think about that maybe is important for what you can put up for a match. If awarded the grant, the funds need to be allocated by the end of 2024. So that would mean you need to have a contract awarded and then spent by the end of 2026. So you may have some time to compile some funds, to build up some funds to help with your match. But that's just so you have that information and kind of think about schedule and how that would work with your funding.
Hey, where does this different date come in, this 2026 now? Because I thought that was 2024 we had to.
You have to have it allocated by the 24th. You have to say, this is what we're going to do, this is what it is.
Okay, I thought we had to have it spent by, okay.
Yeah, so this generally should have the same requirements as the money you receive, the city received directly as your local funds.
Yep.
Yep.
So we don't have any idea on the projects then at this point?
Yes, we've got water lines on Oakwood that were planned, a couple of generators for the pumps, for the water pumps. I'm blanking on there's other water mains that were on the plan in different neighborhoods that over the next, few years. We've got one on 7th Street we're going to do ourselves, and that'll be in July. But I don't remember, but there's a number of water mains that we're looking at.
What's this generator thing?
So if the power goes out, we don't have any water that can be pumped out of our wells. So we need to put in generators as backup for that. So that was one of the things that had been put into the supervised plan that was actually on our schedule for next year.
I think there's like 15 years worth of projects that were in the supervised program. So I think at this point it's really just a matter of getting with staff, making sure and seeing if any priorities have changed, and then bringing back to you the projects that we've chosen, getting your approval, and then we can apply for the grant.
So how long do you think before you'd have that information for us to meet again and pass?
I think we're going to try to get together next week, so it would be the week after, so that we can get it submitted by the 14th. So it's the 7th. 7th would be the next Thursday. I mean, we can meet any time, but the
They're
7th.
planning and zoning on the 7th?
Yes. But you can meet before.
Maybe right before, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do like a 5:30, quick 5:30 meeting or something.
Or at 6:15.
True.
Take that.
And then you would have a week to submit, which is enough time?
Yeah. Well, I think by that point, if we're going to feel confident in what we're presenting to the board, we can get most of that drafted.
Okay.
And then, if there's a change or two, then it wouldn't be too hard to make those changes, but, yeah.
So when we draft those and put that in, we have to put that percentage of match in?
Yeah, that's part of our application.
So you talked about reserves to be able to fund that then, at 20%?
Yeah, it's going to have to, it'll come out of the water reserves. We have some of that dedicated for the electric, but we're still working on that project. That's going to go into the next budget year as well.
So that does stay in the specific department's reserves, not general reserves?
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. So if you all are good with that, we'll plan on July 7th at 5:30, and then if something changes in between time, should be able to get you some information plus the agenda to say, here's what we're looking at putting in for.
Applying for free money is always good.
Yeah, we'd be silly not to also try to do what we could on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're getting. We're getting so many things that are coming our way. It's kind of hard to balance what we have in reserves, what we have in our funds, but we want to make sure we get this money or it's gone.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like
Yep,
we'll get
I've got my
together
orders,
and-
so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Any other public comments? We'll move along to the consent agenda.
Paul, there's a couple of issues on the consent agenda seems to be kind of requiring more discussion. And how do we go about taking those out of the consent agenda and having open discussion for them?
Just which resolutions you want to pull out. You need to make a motion and pull those out, and then we will discuss, and then you can adopt them individually.
Yeah, just make a motion, we move them from the consent agenda on the regular agenda, and then you can approve the consent agenda without those items in there. So it'd be a motion and second with a voice vote.
I'd like to make a motion to put out resolution 2022-55 and 2022-56.
And 57.
Approve the other.
And I would add Resolution 2022-57 for discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call vote?
Voice vote.
Voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. So that with those, with that amended consent agenda,
Motion to approve consent agenda with the ones pulled out.
Second?
Oh, I do have a question, I apologize.
I'm sorry.
On the marketing matching grant, is that just coming out of the tourism budget?
It will be out of the tourism budget, yes.
Okay, thank you.
there you go. So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nope.
So when I say tourism, I also mean general fund. So we budget so much for marketing in the general fund for the matching grant and for regular marketing. So it's not tourism tax.
Right, no, but it was already designated as marketing fund.
Right.
Yes, that was what I wanted to know.
It
Thank you.
will be, it will be. This is the funny thing about state grants. Their budget year is July 1. Our budget year is October 1. I have to put in now for what I'm going to spend next year.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So it has not yet been approved, but.
No, but this is what we generally put in every year for
Right.
marketing. when
Okay.
We split it up.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so now we have a question about the liability casualty insurance.
Yes, the 103,323. What was that increase over last year?
So they increased the valuation of our equipment and our buildings. So based on replacement value, for the liability part of it or casualty part of it, that increased the values is what increased that part of it. For workers' compensation, it's because we now have a mod, and our mod is 1.61.
Right, I understand that. This is strictly about the marine insurance and stuff. And what was that number last year?
I don't have it in front of me. I think it was on,
It has the expiring premium.
yeah, so it's got the amounts on there.
It's on that spreadsheet that was in the packet. There's 91,000.
So I guess my question is how did they assess that value going up that much?
Again, replacement cost is what I believe that's on the explanation from property values increased 24%, marine and miscellaneous equipment values increased 29%. They're saying that we've lowballed ourselves over the years by keeping what our valuations were down. So they updated them this year based on what the current values are, and that increased our premium.
So I guess because we've decided to go with them, we don't have any recourse.
Well, based on, submitting this to the various companies that they looked at, that was the best rate that they got, that Lakin had pulled in. Because they checked EMC and then NPR, and NPR's who we had before, and they wouldn't even quote.
So our options are zero.
Well, at this point, yes.
Right. But this was not because of updating any equipment or any changes that we made. I mean, it seems like we have most all of the same stuff,
Yeah.
except a few vehicles, cars.
And looking at the numbers, I understood where they were looking at the increases. So it wasn't surprising. Again, I think we held our values down for a while, but probably too long in between from renewal to renewal.
But we never set those numbers in the past ourselves. They were set by the insurance company.
Correct. And this year, they looked at everything closer, and those renewal amounts went up.
Shame on them.
Yeah.
It's just another number. Where do we come up with the funds? Everything is... And that's why when this thing comes up, talking budget, I think we're going to have to really look hard. But that was
Okay. Anybody have any questions about anything else? So let me just say on the either the cyber, the CFC, or the coalition, we're still arguing with the low amount group and trying to get them to understand our system and sign up with them. But at this point, they have said, no, we don't have enough protections. So that's why our resolution is for coalition, which is the higher amount, the $28,456.05. We are working towards the MFA that they're requiring, that CFC is requiring. It's just not in place yet because what the groups that we, or the equipment that we, not the equipment, but the software that we use doesn't have it in place yet. So we're working towards that. We're changing antivirus software. / is working towards doing multi-factor authentication. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. We've just now got our new computers. So, we're working, but they didn't really want to work with us when we know we have an isolated system. That we have isolated ourselves to keep that type of issue from happening. But we can't convince them that we are doing things properly and we are protected. And I think all the cities, because I've talked to other cities about this, because they're wanting to know if we had anything or did anything special. It's like, nope, this is what we got. It's like, they're all facing the same question, the same issue.
So is it a matter of their requirements, we're just not able to meet in time, in the time requirements?
Right.
So this could very well be an option in a year?
Yes.
We will?
We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we just don't have enough time right now, and they're not willing to work with us?
No.
So does that in turn make the path to MFA more cost-effective if you stretch that interval out? Or is that even
No, we want to get it,
consideration?
we'd love to have it done as soon as possible to help offset the cost of the MFA, I think.
Okay.
But it's just getting it implemented is not an overnight type thing.
And that's been a discussion with /. Do you know what their timeline is?
We don't have an exact timeline yet because we've got a couple more computers that we need to install, and I don't want to get into too many specifics in an open session. Of course. But we're working towards it. I'd say by next year, yes, we'll have it, because I think all of their clients are going to need it. It's just getting all of our software and all of our internal education, getting all that started is within this next year. That's part of the plan.
So what about these resolutions we took out now? We need the insurance.
Should we do each individually, or
Do it either way. You could
do a group?
have a motion to approve all three of them by number, or you could do them individually.
So back to the third one that we haven't talked about, the workers' comp, and you mentioned the 1.6 mod. I mean, I know what those are. The one thing we need to understand, this is not just 1 year.
Right.
This is 5 years. We will see this increase for 5 years, provided we have no further incidents. So
before we didn't have the mod, there was no mod number that was associated with it for the last couple of years because we were in a pool. Now that we're out of the pool, that's where it comes into play. And I think with Missouri Employers Mutual, we're going to get some other help to make sure that we're doing things safely, that we're following rules and recommendations. And that's even with removing some employees from our payroll. It still goes up because of that modification number. So I think we'll have another, we really haven't done much with travelers, but I think with MEM we'll have more information and more help in making sure that we make things safer.
Well, unfortunately, this not only affects us, but I think there's another guy in the room sitting back there that we're going to have to, because the end result for them is the same also, which is going to come up. But Happy, is there any way that we can, come up with a spreadsheet or just like a running total of all of these issues that we come up with that are increased costs and stuff, so that when it comes time to talk about budget, I mean, I realize those numbers will be in the budget, but it would just be maybe a little more simplified if we could know what all increases we're facing.
I mean, technically, it's included in our operation part of the budget, so
Right.
whatever that bottom line is. But if you're looking for things to be more broken out, I mean, we can do that, but, I mean, where do you want to start and stop?
Well, not in great detail, but just,
Right.
so I got a funny feeling that it's not going to stop here.
You just want a cheat sheet for
Yes.
the big changes in the
Yes.
budget from year to year.
You know, we looked at a water line of $140-some thousand over the bridge already, and, you know, just things like that that we can,
You're worried about overruns that happen before we start to discuss budgets in
well, just
August?
somewhere, right, somewhere where we can kind of know that, you know, there's where our money went, and just a running total type of thing.
And you know that is separate funding, separate budget.
Yeah.
So that's ARPA, so it's not, you know, I mean, we've discussed that through the
Right.
through the ARPA funding, so it's a different amount, but, or from a different fund. Okay. We can do that.
Is there MEM's grant program something you're familiar with?
Which one?
The safety grant program. Sorry, it's listed on our
Oh.
the items to discuss page.
No, but I've got a two-pager that talks about it.
Seems
and,
pretty straightforward. Okay.
you know, and stuff that we can apply for. I mean, what we're going to look at is see what other cities have done to see if that's, you know, something that we can also apply for. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Great, thanks. It just kind of seemed like when we talked to travelers, they had all these extra benefits, and I don't know that we ever took advantage.
Yeah, but we had nobody to contact to take advantage of it. It wasn't like they made themselves available or got us the information. Missouri Employers has already sent us the two-pager.
Okay.
And I think they're going to be actively involved to help us, you know, make sure that we do things properly.
Okay, great.
Happy, one thing, the other thing that kind of comes to mind whenever we were talking about our insurance and stuff, and we got back to actually comparing the two companies, Lakeland and the other company and stuff, all of a sudden, the other company's big deal was we provide all this training. You know, then when we went back to Lakeland, we found they also provided all that training, and in lieu of this work comp issues, have we been using any of that training, or have we?
A little bit of it, yeah. I think it was through SONUS where some of the HR information comes from. We've got a new online library of videos that we're going to start implementing that employees watch, and this is safety videos. So that way we have this kind of training going on, and then maybe put an incentive along with it so that they will watch the videos. And it's set up so we can set up who we need to have watch the video, take a test at the end of it, know that they watched it, and that'll help with what we haven't had that in the past.
Right.
All we've had in the past is just grab a video and watch it and write out a sheet and put it away.
Right. I just know that came up in the comparison of the two companies. You know, when we went back to them, you know, then they both had, and they were pretty broad, you know, as far as what they had available for free.
I think the first year there wasn't as much available. This year there's been more from our discussions with Lakeland that are available.
So you need a motion.
Need a motion,
for
Ed.
those resolutions.
Yes, to approve them, you have to name them.
Got to find the numbers here. What was it, 55, 56, 57?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolutions 2022-55, 2022-56, and 2022-57.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Takes us down to new business. Bill number 4497, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a master agreement for professional services with CB Engineering Incorporated, DBA Cochran, for stormwater management.
one question there. I don't remember in any of the discussions the CB engineering, and where did that change take place?
So, I guess technically all the work that I've ever done from you has been under CB Engineering. We have 6 offices across the state, and each office has a legal name that they operate under. We all operate collectively as Cochran Engineering as one company. So, it sounds like that's the first time you've seen that name listed. I guess that's the same as we've always been operating in all the past projects that we've done with you.
I think at one time it used to be SC Engineering too.
So that is,
So that's part of,
that's the work you do with Dave Christensen and the road and bridge work. That's primarily done out of our Fenton office, and they operate as SC Engineering.
Thanks.
Yep.
Motion to approve?
I was just going to ask, just for some clarification, on the ordinance, whereas the committee recommends this agreement to be for on-call stormwater-related engineering services, just some clarification on on-call. So does that mean as we move forward with this and decide as a board how we want to prioritize moving forward, Cochran's just our go-to on this engineer? Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
That way we're not going out for RFQs every time we're going to do a project.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion for second reading?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second reading of bill number 4497, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a master agreement for professional services with CB Engineering Incorporated, DBA Cochran for stormwater management. Move approval.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes?
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yeah.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4497 now becomes ordinance 4418.
Thank you. It's the first reading of bill number 4498, an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve adopting new ward boundaries in alignment with the 2020 census as outlined in Article 2, wards and precincts, section 105.070, adoption of the municipal code.
Move approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Is there any other business? If there's no other business, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.